Kill the queen. Excellent. Okay, right. Welcome to the live broadcast for the beginners group here. This is the third session that we're talking about. So far, we've talked about moving the pieces, about how the pieces move. We've talked about the value of the pieces. Okay. The most valuable piece of all really is the king. So what we need to do is work out how we might be able to attack the king, and even how we win a game, because we can't take a king in a game of chess. We have to try and do checkmate. So I'm going to try and explain those concepts, and then we're going to talk about it with this particular very, very difficult example in a few minutes' time. If we want to aim at our opponent's king, if we can get one of our pieces to do so, so as somebody said, get this queen. If we can get this queen here, we could take it with a rook. A rook can come across, take this queen, and if it does, it's going to be landing on this square and aiming straight at the king. If it can do that, then we say check to our opponent. And the rule is that if you're in check, you must get out of check. So if you're in check, you must get out of check. There are 3 ways to get out of check. You can take the piece that's doing the check. You can block the piece that's doing the check. Or you can try and move your king to a safe square. So if we look at this brilliant check here, the rook comes across, grabs the queen. So we'll actually make that move now. The rook is aiming at the king. The rook is absolutely safe. This rook can't take it. The king can't go 2 squares. The bishop can't come around the corner. Nothing can take it. We can put something, however, on this square here. So we can do what's called a block. This bishop can drop back and stop the check. In fact, it has to stop the check. That's the only thing you can do in this position. You must stop the check. Okay? So if you're in check, you must get out of check. And that's the rules. So what I think we can do is start with something maybe a little bit easier than this, because here there are loads of checks. Let's start with the most common checkmate. This is the checkmate that happens the most in the game of chess. You've got 3 pieces on the board. There's a white king, a white queen, and a black king. What we need to do is move one of our pieces to aim at the king. We need to move it to a square where it's checking the king. Kings aren't allowed to go next to kings. So we know in this position it will have to be the queen. So the question is, where can the white queen go so that it's aiming straight at the black king? Remember that the queen can move in a straight line in any of these directions. Okay, up and down, diagonal, across. You can move in any way it wants to. So what we need to know is which way is the queen going to go to give check to the king. So does anyone have an idea of which way it would go? Up. Excellent. Okay. It can go up. Not only can it go up straight, it can go up diagonally as well. And each of those moves, a diagonal, a straight, or a diagonal, would be aiming at the king. If the queen ended on this square, or this square, or this square, it would be aiming straight at the king. So let's move the white queen. Let's move it as far away from the king as possible. In that case, it's check. This king can't take the queen. The king also can't, there is no other piece, that can block, because there are no other pieces on the board. And the king if it goes to this square or this square, the queen will still be aiming at it. And we already worked out at the very start that kings aren't allowed to go next to kings, whether it be straight or diagonal. So this would be a check. It would also be a checkmate. So very well done, whoever said moving the queen up. Okay. Actually, there's another place that the queen can go, not just up, so as to give check to the king. There are lots of different directions in which the queen can move, and it's worth looking at all of those directions. So if I was to mark on the board the squares we've already given check on, these three, they're all places where we can put our queen to check the king. Can anyone find a different direction in which the queen can move so as to aim at the king? Think of the way the queen moves, and then try and work out which direction you would move the queen so as to aim at the king. So not straight up or diagonally up. Which other direction might the queen move into to aim at the king? Across? Yeah, exactly. It might go across. If it was to move across, it would move in this direction. There are three squares where it can go to where it would give check to the king. The three squares are here, here, and here. And all of them are good moves. If we were to move the queen across to this square, it can move diagonally on its next go to get the king. So the king's not allowed to take because this king is protecting the queen. You can't block because there are no other pieces to block with. And the king can't move here or to any of these squares, though it can jump out the side. So the move that we did before was a check, but not a checkmate. So going back to the start, coming diagonally next to the king is a check, but the black king can move out the way. If we were to go right in front of the king, we would have a check, the queen aiming straight at the king, and the queen aims diagonally as well, remember? So it guards both of those squares. The king is now trapped. He can't take the queen because he's not allowed to go next to the king. Can't go diagonally because he's cut off by the queen and the king. He can't go anywhere safe. So this is checkmate. So if we go back to our first position, what I can say is the queen has this square and this square and this square where it can do checkmate, this square where it can do checkmate, and these two squares where it can do check. Okay, here's the toughest one of all. There's one other square where the white queen can go to give check. So I wonder if anyone can see which direction that square would be. Which direction would the white queen move, not across or not up, to give check to this king? Where's it going to end up? Diagonal? Let's see. If it goes diagonal, that won't be check because you'll be aiming on the dark squares there. Good check. You'll be aiming straight on the dark squares there. No. No. Unfortunately, the king's in the way. So diagonal doesn't quite work. So which other way can the queen move? Think about the directions it can go in so as to give check to this king. Remember, it's got to end up pointing at the king. Okay, we're going straight down. Absolutely, very good. The queen coming to this square where it goes, very good. Yeah, that's exactly right. Where it comes and it's aiming diagonally in that direction. Okay. This again would be a check, not a checkmate, because in this respect, the king can move across in either direction. So it can go to those squares. Okay? So if you aim at your opponent's king with any of your pieces, it can't be a king because kings aren't allowed next to kings, but any of the other pieces can aim at your opponent's king, you are giving them check. When you're in check, you must get out of check. And there are 3 ways to get out of check: take, block, and move. Let's have a look at another one. Okay? So this time we're white, and this time there aren't as many squares for the white queen to go to. So the white queen down here wants to aim at the black king over there. And the question is, where could it move to so as to give check to that king? Which direction would it go? To give check to that king. So your queen will need to move in a certain direction. So as to give check to this king over here. Diagonal. Very good. Okay, you're absolutely right. Diagonal. We can go, whoops, sorry. We can go diagonal anywhere on this diagonal here. We can move in this direction. Okay, and if we do, what we can say is, are we giving check? No. Are we giving check? No. Check? No. Check? Yes. Because I'm aiming in this direction straight across at my opponent's king. So that would definitely be a check. And the king can't go to this square or this square because my queen cuts it off. But it can jump out of the way up to there. So if I go back again, I can jump up to this square. Because in this respect, I'm giving check. Okay, and then I'm right next to the king, just like I was in the last example. Except this time, my king's a long way away from my queen, so my opponent could actually take me, because I'm not in a very safe position. It is a check, but I've got a little bit too close to my opponent's king. So I could go down to here, and I can give check in this direction. So there are 3 different checks that I could give by moving on this diagonal. This one, my opponent's king can't come towards me because it will be check. Can't come out this way because my queen can come back diagonally and get it. And if it goes there, actually my little pawn is stopping the king from coming out. So this one at the top is my checkmate square. The yellow square, if I went to, then my opponent could take my queen. The red square, my opponent could move their king out of the way. Okay, that's good. The queen is the piece that does check the most in chess. Queens are excellent pieces, and getting to learn a number of different techniques or patterns that the queen can use to give check is something that's really, really important. Okay, these are the checkmates that you will do the most in your games. Remember, we're not allowed to take the king, but we are allowed to attack the king, and hopefully that king will not be able to get out of our attack. And if that's the case, then we're doing a check, and our opponent can't take, block, or move. Then we've done checkmate, and that's how we're winning our games. So in this position, what we want to do is get our white queen, and we want to aim it at the black king. Now this one's trickier because there's only one way that you can do it. So let's see if you guys can find out that one way of moving the white queen to aim at the black king. Which direction is the queen going to go to aim at the black king? I've got to say I'm pretty impressed with your answers so far. So let's see if you can just find this one for me. So which way is the white queen, coloured green, going to go? Straight up? Very good. Okay, the queen is moving straight up in this direction. And bang, aiming at the king. Good work. This is a check, and it's along a straight line that goes across the board like this. The lines that go across the board we call ranks. The ones that go up and down the board we call files. So what we could say is that the white queen, it moved up the file to the number 8's rank and attacked the king. Actually, we can even say it easier than that, because this rank, okay, the one that's up at this end of the board, and this one we call the back ranks. Okay, so the queen moved up the file to the back rank and gave checkmate. Now, back rank checkmates happen quite a lot. They happen when one of our straight line pieces, like a queen or a rook, attacks along the back rank and aims at the king. And the king becomes trapped because its own pieces are right in front of it. The king can't run away because the queen can run faster than the king. The king obviously can't move towards the queen or the queen's going to get it. And so it's trapped by its own pieces in front of it. Okay, the queen is the piece that does checkmate the most. I'm going to go back to our tricky puzzle, the one right at the start, and we're going to try and find some checks. This is one of the hardest puzzles I've ever seen. What you need to do is try and work out which of your pieces can give check to this king. That's easy, because virtually every one of them can. So, let's see which piece you'd like to check the king with, and whether you can make it a checkmate, or whether there are ways that we can get out of check. The puzzle is a checkmate in one move. So on the very next move that you make, you're going to do a check, and it's going to be checkmate. The question is, can we find the right check? We've got 10 minutes to do it. So come on, who wants to start us off with a check? Which one of our pieces can aim at this king? We've got 2 queens, we've got 3 rooks, we've got 3 bishops, 2 knights, we've even got a pawn. All of them can give check. Oh, actually, sorry, this bishop can't give check. But every other one can. Oh, sorry, this rook can't give check. So all of your pieces, except for this one, and the king, I suppose. The rook, excellent. We want this rook over here. Good, that's the first question we've got. So rook here, takes that, it's check. Absolutely, great move. Actually, it's not checkmate. It will lead to checkmate. All the checks that you can find in this position are great checks. This one, black can do a block. So what we've got to do is go back to the drawing board and say that the king, the rook, the bishop, and the other rook can't do checkmate. They can do check. This rook can, and that's excellent check at that. But it can't do checkmate. So does anyone want to hit another piece? That's 4 we've moved out. Excellent. So we've had a rook. Let's try a different piece. Who wants to try a different piece to do checkmate to this king? A knight? Okay. Well, we've got knights that can move like this. This knight can go to here, and it would be check. But if you move your knight to there, one of black's pieces can take it, not the queen. If the queen tries to take, then it will be check like this. So if the queen goes here, it lets another piece give check. However, whoops, However, this bishop down here, he can take. So, another great check, but not checkmate. The knight can also go check here. Knights can very often go to two different squares. Okay? And that is a bishop here can take the queen. Oh, we've got queen as well coming, so just a second and we'll have a look at that. The other knight, just in case anyone meant the other knight, has only got one square where it can go check, which is this one. And it looks like an excellent check. It's aiming straight at the king. But once again, we've got this bishop that can come across and just come and take it. So, none of those pieces. Right, we've got the queen. Is that the top queen? 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're moving this one all the way over to there. Okay? Okay, so if this one comes over to there, remember this queen's not allowed to take it. Because we've got this situation where if the queen tries to move, then it'll be check. However, I think something else might be able to take that queen. And that is this king. Oh, because the queen wasn't protected by anything. Remember, if it's going to be checkmate, the queen has to be protected by other things. Actually, the queen's got a lot of different squares it can go check to. It can go check here, 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 and there. So I can say that this one's not any good because the queen would take. This one won't be checkmate because the bishop could take. This one is very interesting. If the queen moves to there, then the king can go and hide back there. The queen was actually guarding that square before. So that's a bit unfortunate. So that one's not checkmate. This one's the same. Here. King can run away. Very annoying. And the last one, if the queen moves up into this square, well, I think the king might just be able to take it. So that queen can give lots of different checks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry, this check as well. 6. But none of them are checkmate. Okay? Any other pieces? We've got a few left. So what else do we have? None of the pieces that are coloured yellow can give checkmate. They can give checks, some great checks as well, but they can't give checkmate. So does anyone else want to come up with a move? Rook or queen? How can the pawn give check? Oh, okay. The pawn can give check. Yes. Kill the queen with the queen. All right, we'll come to that in a second. All right. Someone's asked, how can the pawn give check? Well, the pawn can give check by getting to the end of the board. If the pawn gets to the end, it'll become a queen. Or it can become any piece it wants. The problem is that if it moves forward and becomes a queen, this bishop's going to be giving check to your king, which is not allowed. So the only other thing you can do is take the bishop. But if you do that, then I think the rook will be giving check, but this bishop might be able to block. So I can also cut out this pawn. Okay, we've got kill the queen with the queen. All right, so if we take here, it's definitely check. I think we've got this same block again. It's exactly the same block as with the rook. Oh. Okay, we're getting close to the end of this particular puzzle, and you guys have been doing great. This rook can't give checkmate, nor can this, nor can this. That can't, that can't, that can't, that can't, this can't. Sorry, never said that one can't. That can't, and that can't. Oops. So we've got bishops and a queen. But the queen can't take the queen to give checkmate. It's frustrating, isn't it? So many checks, and none of them seem to be able to work. What do we want to try next? You've got 2 more minutes to try and solve this. We've hit probably 100 checks already. Okay, maybe that's a slight exaggeration. We've got any other checks that anyone can see where we could check this king. There's still a few left. Okay, I'll give you another clue. It won't be a bishop. Bottom queen, diagonally right, going up in this direction. There, that one looks like checkmate. I have to say that that was the very first move that I ever thought of in this. This queen can't take you. The king is completely trapped on every square, so it can't go. But the queen that's down here can chase you diagonally and take you. So this queen can't give checkmate there or there. I'll give you a little clue. If this bishop gives check there, the king can move up to the square that it was guarding before. And if it goes up to that square, the king will be able to take it. So I'm going to take this one out as well. This one has got one check. And although it's a brilliant check, it won't be checkmate because we have a block. So this guy's not giving checkmate either. That leaves one last bishop, which is this one. If he goes here, then that guard blocks the queen, and so the king will have this square that it can run to. So although it's a brilliant check, it's not a checkmate. So that leaves you with this last piece. The queen, it must be, okay, but it can't go there or there. So is there anywhere else the queen can go to give check? You just need one last square for this queen to give check, and if you can find that one, then you're finding probably one of the hardest checkmates I've ever seen. Checkmate in one move. Think of all the different directions the queen can move to, the green colored queen. If you find that, you have found the checkmate. If you find the last check that that queen can go to. To the left, whoa, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. It's a check. Let's have a look at this one. Very, very good indeed. The pawn can't go backwards. It's not allowed. This pawn's coming down here. Nothing else can take the queen. It's safe. Blocking. Nope, we have nothing that can move there. This queen would like to go there or there, but it's not allowed, because if it moved, it would be check. So the king's got to find a safe square to go to. Except I don't think there is a safe square. So I think you found exactly the right move here. We'll just take some of these colors off so we can see a bit better. And try and make it a red square. Well, if it goes to there, this rook will take it. If it goes to there, the queen will take it. If it goes to there, the pawn will take it. If it goes to here, the bishop will take it. We've got a bishop that's guarding it. This queen is guarding all the squares in the front. So the king is attacked by the queen. You can't take this queen. You can't block. And you can't move your king to a safe square. This would be checkmate. Look, really, really well done on seeing all those checks. We saw about, I must have seen 30 checks in this one position. We worked out the other checkmates. There was a back rank checkmate. There was checkmates with a queen. That's the check piece that you will do checkmate with the most in your games. So you should be looking at when your queen or your other pieces can aim at your opponent's king. That's a check. And if your opponent can't take, block, or move, you've done checkmate, and you've won the game of chess. Thanks very much for attending this session. Okay, in your games, please look for checks and look for checkmates. And if someone tries to take your king, just tell them they're not allowed to do that. They've got to take their move back and then try again to get out of check. Okay, thanks very much. That's all for this week. Next week we'll be looking at things that are perhaps a little bit more strategic now that we've got check and checkmate done with. Thanks very much for your attendance, and I hope This was a very, very difficult puzzle. I hope that all of you have taken something from this today. I certainly know I was impressed with all of your answers. Thank you, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.